looks like some folks are starting to join. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. I just wanted to say a quick good evening, everyone here in the States, and a good morning to those of you who are in Australia. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited for the fourth installment of our Creative Inquiry series featuring the incredible Anne Reardon. Anne, if you don't know somehow, is an Australian food scientist, dietitian, author, and YouTube creator, best known for her innovative work in debunking dangerous viral food hacks and promoting media literacy through her channel, How to Cook That. With a background in food science and nutrition, Reardon holds a degree in food science and a postgraduate degree in dietetics from Curtin University, which she leverages to educate her global audience on the science behind cooking and the importance of critical thinking in the digital age, because we all need that. In 2021, Reardon was voted the world's best online chef in the 12th Annual U.S. Taste Awards and the 2024 Road Science Creator of the Year. Reardon's engaging debunking series has positioned her as a trusted voice in the fight against misinformation, particularly in the culinary space. Her ability to deconstruct viral food videos and expose misleading and harmful practices in an apolitical way has gained widespread recognition. Publications such as the Wall Street Journal, BBC, MIT Technology Review, Forbes, the Sydney Morning Herald, and Huffington Post have highlighted her unique approach to media literacy in her campaign against hazardous life hacks. She has also been featured on Radio New Zealand and 7 News Australia, where she's discussed the importance of online accountability and consumer safety. Through her work, Reardon has become a compelling media educator, empowering her audience to question the validity of viral content and approach the online world with curiosity and healthy skepticism. Beyond her YouTube presence, she continues to inspire change and foster a more informed digital landscape, using her expertise to make the internet and the kitchen a safer place. For those of you attending Creative Inquiries for the first time, the speaker series aims to add a little critical friction to these sleek ideas about innovative technologies by providing a platform to discuss the complexities of living in an increasingly technological world. Featuring the expertise of researchers who make and makers who research, these speakers do not approach technology as an answer, but rather as a question. How does technology reflect these issues, inequities, and injustices of our society, and what is there to be done about it? When it comes to Anne, it's about making cake. This event was made possible by a grant from the VCU Foundation and would not be possible without the love, labor, and support from VCU Libraries, especially our amazing events manager, Ryan Larson, and our awesome team at the workshop. I also usually forget to introduce myself, but I guess I should mention that I'm Oscar Keys. I'm the Multimedia Teaching and Learning Librarian at VCU Libraries, which is a fancy way of saying that I help students and faculty looking to use creative technologies in their studies, teaching, and research through our resource at the workshop. So if you're interested in learning about that, definitely come and visit us. To give you a quick sense of today's talk, we'll first hear from Anne and have a presentation, and then there'll be a QA session, which I'm really excited to be co-moderated by my fellow librarians, Nia Rogers, our Public Affairs Research Librarian, and Jenny Stout, our Teaching and Learning Librarian. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. We'll be keeping track of that as we go. And for now, I'm going to turn my video off so that all you can see is the wonderful and incredible Anne Reardon. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you, Oscar, and hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. And as Oscar said, it is morning here in Australia, so we've had the overnight sleep. We are ahead. And so if you're thinking, why is a cooking channel debunking misinformation? That seems like an unusual fit. You would be right. So I'll give you a bit of background information as to how we got here, and then we can go from there. So I started my channel 14 years ago now, so it has been a very long time that I've been doing this, one of the OG YouTubers back before the term YouTuber existed and nobody knew you could make money from this, and I didn't know you could. So back when videos were just made to help people, that was a nice time. So 5 million subscribers and 1 billion video views later, we still going. But for those of you who are not familiar with the channel, I'll start just by showing you a very short sort of compilation snippet of what I started doing back for those sort of 5 years, so that we are all on the same page. So let me just share this one with you. Make sure we get the right one. And here we go.
We are going for it, taking all that tiny thread, weave them into sails and send our hopes up in the wind. We are starting fresh now, starting fresh like blooming spring. Send
All right, so that should give you an idea of what the channel was about. My kids are mainly the older ones are grown up now, so that last clip with the kids in it should let you know how long I've been doing YouTube for. Makes me feel a bit old. So back then I did cakes, chocolate, dessert, and the YouTube algorithm had recently changed at that time when I started to try and combat clickbait. So clickbait was a big issue on the platform, and they changed to what I call the watch time algorithm. So the wasn't just important that someone clicked on your video, it was how long they watched of the video, how much of the video watched, and not just watch time, but session time. So after they'd watched that one video, did they watch another video of yours, or did they just click off and not watch anymore? That was kind of the indicator of, is this going to be a good video? That and other things that as a human you might think, if you're trying to tell a computer what a good video is, indicators that you might think. So things as well as watch time, it was how many likes to dislikes did it have, and how many shares did it get, and did it get embedded on any other websites, particularly big websites like news websites, education websites, and that sort of thing. They were indicators they use to tell the algorithm recommend these videos more. And that time was also when YouTube changed from YouTube having the one front page for everyone and everybody saw the same recommendations to it being different depending on who you were. And it started to be customized, depend on individuals. And so that watch time algorithm favored, as you can imagine, longer content. So that meant things like gaming took off at that time, because if you're doing a gaming walkthrough on a video game, you can do a really long video without a lot of pre-prep and no editing required. So that really helped that to go crazy. That and kids content went really well as well, because kids have, one, a lot of time to watch, and two, they tend to repeat view. So they'll watch something and if they like the video, they'll watch it again. It's talking little kids here, obviously. So kids content really got a lot of recommendations and started doing very well. Your beauty and your cooking type stuff went pretty well as well, because we had reasonable watch time going on there. So all those channels were growing slowly but nicely over that time period. Animation, on the other hand, because animation takes so long to make, their videos tended to be shorter. And this algorithm killed animation on the platform. All of a sudden, they just didn't get any views and it wasn't worth them making videos anymore, so they all stopped uploading. So it's important to remember out of the gate that YouTube will tell you that they promote videos that viewers want to see, but the inverse is also true. Viewers see the videos that YouTube promotes. So overnight, the whole world did not decide that they didn't like animation videos anymore. Instead, YouTube just stopped recommending them down the side. So it's the videos down the side that make the big difference. That's 80% of the views come from that, not from search. You're not actually deciding what you want to watch. Google is deciding, because Google owns YouTube, what people watch, which is pretty powerful when you think about how important what you're watching and what you're taking in is. That's a lot of power for one organization to have. So keep that in mind, that their algorithm really controls a lot. Then in 2016, they changed the algorithm. They denied they'd changed the algorithm for at least 2 years. All of us as creators could tell it had changed overnight, because you could just you can see the huge difference. And we would ask them about it and they would say, no, nothing's changed, which I still don't know whether the people we were speaking to on YouTube didn't know it had changed. So they were telling us it hadn't changed because that's what they thought, but it had changed. And eventually, probably a good 2 years later, they actually explained that yes, it had changed, and it had changed to an AI algorithm. Now, you're all very familiar with the term AI now, but back then there was no ChatGPT, there was no OpenAI, so people were very unfamiliar with what that meant. But basically, what it does is, instead of telling the computer this is the inputs this is the things that make a good video, the watch time, the shares, the likes to dislikes, all that sort of stuff. Instead, you tell it the output. So the output is what I want, or what Google wants is more ads seen, so to make more money. So choose videos based on that. So then if you're watching a video, instead of then recommending another video of that same sort of topic that's got lots of likes and shares and embeds, it would instead just do experiments. Well, what if we then showed you some controversial video or highly politicized video or this other thing? Are you more likely to click on it? Are you going to spend more time on the platform? And therefore, are we going to get to show you more ads and make more money? So that algorithm promoted what I termed the 5 C's, the number one being controversy, because as humans, for some reason, we like controversial things. We're more likely to click on something controversial. And that became apparent very quickly with the Logan Paul video. You may not be familiar with this if you weren't on the platform, but he went into a suicide forest in Japan and with no taste whatsoever, filmed a body that they found there. And I still don't understand to this day, like this wasn't a live video. They filmed it and then they went back and their team edited that video and chose to keep that in the video. And it was so controversial that of course people were clicking on it and then showing someone else going, can you believe this is in a video on YouTube? And it was trending on the front page. It got 6 million views in a day. And the issue with that was advertisers went, here's supposed to be a Google preferred channel. Advert is playing against that video and we don't like that. So advertisers pulled ad spend. And the big advertisers don't spend their own money on YouTube. They'll go to an ad buyer. So if an ad buyer pulls ad spend, they're pulling it on behalf of a lot of very big buyers. So that meant that it wasn't just off that video, it was off the whole platform. So most YouTubers that month had a massive pay cut, just didn't get paid, essentially because of that one bad video. And YouTube then had to change what they were doing. So now when we upload a video, it has all of these things like, does it contain extreme violence? Does it contain lots of swearing? Does it contain all of these tick boxes you have to tick? Basically, they're asking, is this advertiser friendly? And if it's not advertiser friendly, you can still put it on YouTube, you can still get ads, but you won't get as many ads as if it's an advertiser-friendly video. So it got change on the platform overnight. And they've had to start babysitting the platform a bit more now that controversy is getting promoted. The other thing this algorithm promotes is clickbait. So we've gone back to the old days of clickbait is king. For all of the different metrics, we can download metrics in the back end for YouTube, and for all the different metrics, whether it be watch time, likes to dislikes, percentage of the video watched, we can map all of those against the number of views the video gets in the first 30 days, which is usually indicative of how the video is going to go. The only thing that correlates is click-through rate. So keep in mind we do have a good watch time already, so you couldn't just have click-through rate and no watch time. But click-through rate is the only thing that correlates well with views, which is then not good because then that makes people want to do clickbait. So you can have a good thumbnail, good title that makes people click, and as long as you deliver on that in the video, that's fine. That's not clickbait. But if you put something on the thumbnail that is not actually delivered in the video, then that is clickbait. And YouTube does actually have a policy, I'll see if I can share that with you, against clickbait. So you're not supposed to do clickbait. Let me share that one. So they say that you can't have this. This is something that you would get in trouble for. They're saying that you can't have titles, thumbnails, or descriptions that basically are tricking users into believing the content. Oops, sorry, I've clicked off that one onto a different one. Let's go back to the one we're actually sharing. Believing the content is something it's not. So this includes titles, thumbnails, descriptions, leading viewers to believe they will see something in a video, but it's not actually in the video itself, essentially. Now, that's one of their policies. Now, let me show you one of the thumbnails that I questioned them about. Let's share that one. Okay, can you see that one now? We'll close this other one so it's not in the way. So this one I questioned them about, and said, I don't know if any of you have seen this thumbnail before. It was shown a lot on YouTube, but this video doesn't contain a phone and it doesn't contain toothpaste. Nowhere in the video at all. It's just a highly clickable picture that made a lot of people click. And they said, well, the video is about hacks, so it's kind of in the right genre, so we're not counting that as clickbait. And this is interesting with YouTube because their policies are governed by YouTube. So they get to decide, one, what the policies are, and two, whether they will or won't enforce them. And so it can become quite an sort of unfair or uneven playing field because nobody actually knows what they're going to decide is going to be against their policies and what isn't against their policies. So because of that sort of decision, clickbait is pretty crazy on the platform under this algorithm as well. The other thing the AI algorithm promotes is copying. So it likes the same thing. So if one video is doing very well, you will notice a lot of creators jump on and do the exact same type of video or the exact same topic, because if one thing is trending with the algorithm, it just seems to promote more of the same. That's very different to what the old algorithm used to promote. That used to promote things that were very creative and that people really liked, and we're not seeing that correlation anymore. It used to be if you uploaded a video, everybody loved it in the comments. You knew this video was going to go well. Now, just the other night when we uploaded a video and my husband said, how's it going? I went, everybody loves it. This video won't go well. And I prefer that everybody loves it, but you just know, unless it's a polarizing topic and everybody's arguing against each other in the comments, it's not something that's going to go well under this algorithm, which is a pity. The other thing it promotes is current videos. So videos that have been newly, freshly uploaded. So that, of course, favors channels that can upload often. So again, gaming did well under this algorithm because they could do a walkthrough every day, which is a pretty punishing schedule. They could live stream every day, they could do all of that, and that would do well under this algorithm. It also favored things like reaction videos. So basically any videos that you didn't actually have to do a whole lot of filming, editing, and that's for, because you can't turn around videos that fast. That is, unless you are the final thing that it promoted a lot of, which is a content farm. So content farms are typically overseas because they can have a lot of workers working on a low wage and put out a lot of videos very, very quickly. So sometimes 7, 8, 9, 10 videos every day. And there is just no way a normal creator could keep up with that schedule. And there's no way even that the content farms could put out quality content doing that either. And that didn't seem to be the concern. They also seem to hack the algorithm a bit by doing repeated uploads. So if I do a video and then try and upload the same video again, it will say you've already uploaded this. But they did imagine one 10-minute video being 10 short 1-minute videos, and then rearrange the order of those 10 and upload it again, then it didn't pick it up as a repeated video. So you can basically, you do the maths, how many times you can use those 10 1-minute videos to make multiple different videos if you just rearrange the clips in different orders. So that is just how we got to where we are now, why we have all of that. Also, over time, interestingly, we've noticed a real drop-off from all the top channels and across YouTube of female-hosted channels and an increase in male-hosted channels under the AI algorithm. Can't get full amount of data on that because YouTube won't share, but that's just an interesting one to note. So over that time, I was having conversations back when they were still denying the algorithm had changed with YouTube. And I remember speaking to my partner manager and taking him a graph of all of the baking channels that had been growing beautifully over the last 5 years, all declined on the exact same graph. And I don't know whether he didn't know the algorithm had changed or whether he was just saying what he was supposed to say. But basically he said, oh, maybe people just prefer the content farm style of content. So because of that, I started looking more closely at their content. I, to prove him wrong, made a video that was in their style, and it was our worst performing video ever. But I was only doing it to prove a point. But while I was watching those videos, I noticed something strange about them. And I'll show you one clip from one of the very successful channels and very successful videos under this AI algorithm and see if you can tell what is wrong with it. Here we go. Now it's showing. Now I can share it for you. So see if you can tell what is wrong with this video. If you've been on my channel, you will already know. So just give the people who haven't a chance to watch. All right, so did you pick it up? The filming quality was good, the editing was good, it was done to music, it's a nice looking video, but it's actually fake. There is no way that you can make frosting by mixing ice cream and icing sugar together. That just can't happen. I'll show you what actually does happen if you try and do that. If we can find this one, here we go. So this is me recreating their recipe exactly as they did it, melting the ice cream, a very inefficient way to do it because it took 15 minutes, then refrigerating for 3 hours and whipping it up. Now it doesn't matter how long you whip this for. I left it for about 5 minutes in a stand mixer and you just get a milkshake. You do not get a thick frosting. There's not enough fat in the ice cream to whip up like that into a frosting. So this is just a fake recipe. And in case you're thinking, oh, maybe the proportions were slightly wrong, even if you used 1 scoop of ice cream to that amount of icing sugar, or any amount of tiny ice cream to the icing sugar, you will not get a whipped frosting like that. You will get a runny icing. You could dip donuts in a runny icing like that, but you will not get a whipped frosting that you can spread onto a cake. So there's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is where I tell you something, I think it's true, and I'm telling it to you, and I've misinformed you, but I believed what I said was true. That's misinformation. Disinformation is where I know what I'm telling you is wrong, and I'm just straight lying to you. That's disinformation. And this video comes under disinformation because there is no way that when they made that, they got a frosting. They've just swapped it out for a frosting with no regard for the audience who is watching, which I find that really hard to, I can't disassociate from the audience that's watching. I see people as people, and people are valuable and their time is valuable. You watching even today, you're important, you're valuable, and I can't just do something that would be bad for you just because you're on the other video screen and you're not just right in front of me. I think that people should be valued. So I find it very hard to settle that in my mind that people are happy just to lie on video to people, but everyone's different. So I started debunking these videos on my channel and started basically exposing that there were fake videos. I'll just open this next one for you. People started then sending this to me to be debunked, and not only videos that were fake, so we've done a lot of those over the year, but also then people started sending in things that were dangerous or they thought might be dangerous and asking the question, is this safe? Isn't this safe? And so being able to use the platform that I had and the channel that I'd built, we could then debunk some dangerous hacks and things that were going to put people's lives at risk, essentially. One of those was fractal wood burning. If you've never heard of what fractal wood burning is, I'll show you that. So basically you take a microwave transformer and wire that up to a couple of leads and use that to burn these very beautiful patterns into wood, and then some of them they're filled with resin, with the blue there, which looks lovely. The issue is by using the microwave transformer, number one, it's extremely high voltage, and number two, you're bypassing any safety measures in your house. You know how normally if something went wrong with the electricity, the power would flick off. It won't do that. And there's already been 33 deaths at the time that I made the video from this hack. And sadly, some of them are terrible. Like a couple who died, they both died and then their house burnt down. But the electricity doesn't switch off, the voltage just keeps going, and it's horrific. Like, all you have to do is just gently brush against it, and you can't tell when it's switched on. If it's not on the wood, you can't tell that it's on. And or even if you have it on the wood but you haven't sprayed it with the water, nothing happens, so it looks like it's on. People will just touch the lead accidentally. Now, as a result of having this on, we have managed to get some of the how-to videos taken down off YouTube, which is a win. They've still got the ones up that some people are saying they're doing it more safely by using a dead man switch, which means if their foot comes off the switch, the power will stop going, which is great, but they still might be dead. There have still been deaths since those videos have come down, which is showing that it's still not enough. I think there are still lots of videos on shorts just showing the actual thing, so it's promoting fractal wood burning. So yes, we've gone from cooking cakes all the way through to debunking videos and doing dangerous content as well, which is quite a shift. It's a big move, but unfortunately a necessary one. Now, that brings us to how do people respond to debunking videos, and there is a very mixed response, from thankful to skeptical to angry to confused. So some people are very thankful, like especially with the fractal wood burning. We have people who wrote in the comments saying, I had the microwave transformer out of an old microwave and was about to follow this hack. Didn't know it was dangerous. Thank you so much. That probably saved my life. And teenagers who wrote in, one teenager I remember in the comments writing that her dad was about to do it, and she was just horrified because she'd seen my video. So she found the video, played it to him, and he went, well, I guess I won't be doing that anymore. So she was very grateful that he had been able to see that, and that she had that knowledge from watching the channel. And then the widow from one of the people who died from this has written on the comments as well, thank you for making more people aware of this issue. Because it's not just people who don't know what they're doing. This one is electricians. Well, it is you can't make a mistake with it. One slight mistake and you're dead. And that's not a hack that's worth trying. And then apart from the dangerous ones, even just with the debunking fake recipes, some people who've tried those recipes, assuming they were proper recipes, and then when they didn't work, instead of blaming the recipe, they've blamed themselves and gone, I can't cook. I'm no good at cooking. And some kids who have wasted ingredients that way, and then the parents have gone, you can't cook anymore because you just are making a mess, you can't cook, da, 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 da. And so this is actually meaning some people are not learning how to cook, or if they're trying to learn how to cook, they're not getting confidence in that area because they're following fake recipes, which is not ideal at all. The next response is people being skeptical. So I remember very early on, one young person in the comments saying, I showed this video to my mum and she said that it's not true because if the videos were fake, YouTube would have removed them. They wouldn't allow fake videos on their platform. And I understand where that confusion comes from, because YouTube does demonetize, it does remove videos, and it publicizes that it does that. So people may think that that's actually what it does. I mean, this is another policy that they have. Let me grab this one up for you. So this is how they address misinformation. It says that they have a responsibility to connect people to high quality content. So the most important thing that they can do is increase the good and decrease the bad, which is why we address misinformation on our platform by the R principles: removing content, reducing recommendations, raising up authoritative sources, and rewarding trusted creators. So that's their policy. So from that, I would agree with the people who were skeptical, are like, yep, YouTube would take this stuff down. But if you actually click through many more clicks and narrow down a bit more information on their policy, it actually says further down that this only applies to removal of videos that can directly lead to real world harm, which mainly again, it's their opinion. Their policies are their opinion. They get to choose what they take down. Nobody else gets a say in this. But this seems to be videos about news events and politics and conspiracy theories, particularly conspiracy theories against like something that's currently happening. So when it was COVID, they were taking down videos on COVID and that sort of stuff. So they get to choose what those areas are, and cooking does not come under that area. That comes under all the other things come under what they call free speech. So if you want to make videos that are disinformation and lying to people about maths or history or cooking or science or any of those things, that is okay under this. It's free speech, which I'm not saying all these videos should be taken down, but I do think they should be marked with something that cautions people and viewers so they know that this is not true. One of the issues with that, of course, is who decides what's true. You would need a lot of experts who actually knew all those different areas. Like, I can tell you what's fake in food and a lot of science things, but I couldn't tell you what was fake in history. That's not my strong area. Geography, even worse. So you would need people who are educated in different areas to be able to moderate that, and the cost of that would be huge. One of the other responses people have from the debunking videos is they can get very angry. People can be very committed to either the person who's told them the disinformation and they, again, don't believe you, they believe them, or there's this interesting psychological thing called the illusionary truth effect, which means even if you're knowledgeable in an area, if you hear misinformation or disinformation, either one, repeated to you, you are more likely to question your knowledge and believe the misinformation the more times that you hear it. And this is where the algorithm really copying and promoting copying is an issue, because the misinformation tends to get repeated again and again between unrelated channels. And so the more times someone has heard the misinformation, the harder it is to convince them of the truth. And sometimes they will just stick with that misinformation because they have heard it so many times, or they trust the person it's come from, which is why it's so important for YouTube creators and influencers on any platform to get the information right. It is difficult to get the information right, particularly in the area of health. There's a lot of misinformation. Things that play into that is the cost of accessing journal articles. If you're a university student, use those uni articles while you can access them, because they're very, very expensive to access once you've left uni. As well as that, the cost, if you don't have the knowledge to be able to read journal articles and interpret them, then you'd need to pay an expert, and that is really expensive to do. It's beyond the scope of what most YouTube channels could afford. So that kind of helps the misinformation thrive, unless the channel is run by someone who has that knowledge, so they can just use that knowledge in their actual channel. So because of that, there's certain videos that I just love debunking because they are so clearly misinformation that no one can deny it. And these ones are very helpful in explaining misinformation and disinformation to people. I'll show you this one so that you can see this one. They have some sneakers that are really dirty and they're giving them a clean, and then magically they are perfectly white and they've gone up a size. That's pretty impressive. I can't do that. All right. So hopefully you spotted that there, that they have completely just switched out the shoes. So making fake videos is quicker and easier. You don't actually have to have anything that works. You can just make magical things happen, and hopefully they don't make too many mistakes like that we pick up on, but they do make a few. So the advantage of doing the fake videos is they're very impressive looking. So if you showed cleaning the shoe and it came kind of clean, that's not very impressive. I call that 1 + 1 = 2. It's reality. But if they show 1 + 1 = 6, they're playing all these videos so fast, people often don't stop and process that wasn't true, that was fake. But it looks really impressive, so it's more shareable and it's quicker and easier to make because you don't actually have to scrub the shoe. You just get one shot of scrubbing and then you've got a clean, perfect shoe by swapping it in. So those sort of videos help to really illustrate to people the disinformation and how it works. Once people have got over that, yes, that actually is disinformation, then that leads us to the next response, which is confusion of why would anybody make fake hacks and fake cooking videos. And that, I hope most of my audience would understand, that views equals money. So the more views you get, the more money you'll make on the platform, and so therefore some people will do anything to get those more views. They're not concerned about who's watching, who's the other side of that camera. There's no concern for the welfare of the people who are wasting their ingredients or any of those things. It's just more views, more money. How can we get more views? And as I said, filming fake things is a lot quicker and a lot easier than recipe testing, making sure something's perfect and uploading something like that. It takes a lot more time than just doing something fake. And money is a big driver for a lot of people, so they will continue to do that sort of thing. Now, with AI now, I think fake content and misinformation is just going to continue, and it just gets easier with the Mid-Journey. The photos are pretty amazing now. The food photos are pretty impressive. Then also you've got obviously the actually using chat to generate whole scripts for videos. You've got AI voices to speak them. You've got just so many things, which at the moment, some of them are easy to tell they're AI, but they're getting harder and harder to tell. They're getting better and better. And the AI videos and the deep fakes and all of that stuff make misinformation far easier for people to be able to fool people. And so using food and using hacks and sort of those friendly topics to be able to expose these sort of issues and show people how it works is a really, I guess, a nice sort of genre to work in. There's a lot of stuff in deepfakes that you wouldn't want to discuss with kids or show to kids, but if you can show them stuff in how deepfakes work within food things and within friendly things that's kid friendly, then that can help start a conversation with different people, which a lot of parents and a lot of teachers have been very thankful for the videos. They've written in to say that they have used the videos to teach their kids or their students how to think critically and how to assess the source, and is this a trusted source or could this be fake? One of the things that I have found over the years is there's been a real shift from at the beginning of everybody not realizing things were fake, like why would anyone fake it? This has to be true, to now people not trusting anything because so much misinformation is there that there's no trust there anymore. And people will now send in videos for debunking that I'll watch it and go, but that's a real, like that's actually what happens when you cook that. That's a real video. And I include some of those sometimes to go, no, this is legit. This is a real recipe and this actually works. But at the beginning, there was none of that. So I feel like over time, the more misinformation there is, the more people feel like they can't trust anybody. And that is an issue then if you need people to trust something, because if there's no authority and no thing that they do trust, there's no way of communicating something important when it needs to be communicated. And so that is a definite issue. Now, everyone always asks, okay, what's the solution? How do we fix this problem of misinformation? If I had the answers to that, then that'd be great, but I don't. It's a huge problem. I have some suggestions, or rather some things to think about when addressing misinformation, but I don't have all the answers. If I did, that'd be great. But I think making debunking videos, obviously I'm doing it, so I believe that that helps. I think you should, if you're trying to debunk something, you should do it on the platform that the misinformation is on. So I'm doing it on YouTube, but if someone is trying to debunk misinformation on TikTok, they should do that on TikTok, because if you try and debunk it on the news, you might reach some people, but you're not reaching the people who are watching the videos. People who watch TV are not the same people who watch YouTube. They're different audiences. So it's important to try and do things on the platforms where they're occurring. That's going to be the most effective. The other thing to do is, I mean, some people would go, well, you're getting this many views and the fake content's getting this many views. How can that possibly make a difference? But you'll notice now, if you go to, for example, that frosting video, in the comments, people are saying, this has been debunked. This is fake. This is not real. And a lot of people do read the comments. So that then is very helpful, because it spreads that, I guess, that seed of doubt for some people in the initial thing of, hang on a minute, I need to question what I'm seeing here. The other thing that you really need to do with this sort of thing is follow the money. So Google owns YouTube, obviously, and a lot of people think that the viewers, they really care about the viewers. I'm not convinced that they do. I think that they do to a certain extent, and it's a company, there's people who work there, and some of the people really do care about the viewers, but they're a company with shareholders and they have to make money. They're a business. So their priority is, yes, they need viewers, so they need eyeballs, they need people watching, but the priority is how can we make money? So then if you're following the money, then you can go, okay, well, is it the creators then who can make change? Obviously, creators can make change on their own channel, but not on the platform. So YouTube, if I stop creating tomorrow, someone else will be making a video. They don't really care that much about individual creators. As long as they've got somebody creating, that's not a major thing. If you follow the money, the person who is the customer here is the advertiser. They're the one who is putting the money into the system, and they're the ones who can make change happen very, very quickly. As we saw with the adpocalypse, we had just very quick changes to suddenly needing to tick if you have on your video, if you have anything that's not advertiser friendly. That stuff would have taken, if creators want it, we would still be waiting for it. But if viewers wanted it, you'd still be waiting for it. But advertisers wanted it, done, because it's going to cost money and it's a business and it needs to make money. So that can change things. So by actually speaking to advertisers and getting them to ask for changes or to not advertise against certain channels or certain types of videos, that would make change, because people will stop making videos if they're not making money, and YouTube will pay attention because they're the financial source in this whole equation. Governments are always something people suggest, can the governments make policies? And certainly they can, and that can help. But generally I've seen things that may not help. They may not understand how the platform works well enough, or how the platform's going to respond. So it really needs, if a policy is going to be made, there then needs to be funding to follow up on that. 6 months later, a year later, go, okay, how did they dodge this? What's happened now? Has this had the effect we wanted it to have or not? And follow it up. So an example of that would be the copper ruling, which was the fine that was back in 2019. YouTube was fined, I think it was $170 million for targeted ads to children. You're not allowed to, you can advertise to kids, but you can't have targeted ads, which is where you've got the cookies and you're following them across different websites and you're following their behavior, so you know what they like. So for example, they might have just looked up Nerf guns and now they're watching a video and you show them an advert for Nerf guns. You're not allowed to do that with kids. They're seen as too impressionable and they wouldn't be able to understand that link that we as adults know. It's because we just looked it up and they're following us, they're tracking us. So they were fined $170 million for doing that, for advertising to kids. And so they brought in a system in the back end where when you upload a video, we now have to tick this video is made for kids or it's not made for kids. And made for kids means its primary audience is kids who are 14 years and younger. So a lot of channels that make just like nursery rhyme type content, that sort of thing, will tick, yes, we're made for kids, because obviously it's unquestionable they are. But the issue with that is non-targeted ads don't pay as much. So they will be being paid, it's about like taking 1/10 of what they were earning before. It's a huge pay cut to tick made for kids. So a lot of the kids, borderline kids, teenage stuff made their content a bit more edgy so that they could tick not made for kids, and here's why. But a lot of the kids were still watching. So that was quite a negative outcome of that. If you've got not kids suitable content on channels that kids were already watching and familiar with and parents thought were safe, may kind of switched to not being safe. And then the other thing you've got is a lot of, when I looked at the top channels, the top creators, a lot of them, they're pretty obviously kiddie, and they don't have made for kids ticked at all. So they're just seeing it as, well, nobody's following up on it. The promise was that basically instead of YouTube getting fined, now that you personally have ticked it, you would individually be fined. So I don't know whether these channels are big enough that they're going, well, the fine's not big enough to be a deterrent, or whether they're just going, nobody's following up on this. Like, this is, I have not heard of any YouTuber being fined, and this was enacted in 2019. So that's a lot of years. So if policy has nobody outside of YouTube following it up, I don't think it works in the long term. It's got to have people following it up of what happened with that policy. Yes, it meant that toddlers weren't getting targeted ads, but I think everyone between toddler and teenager still would be watching and getting targeted ads. So that would be my suggestion. If you're going to go the government way, you have to then follow up what happened as a result of that policy. Is it working? And have your own people follow it up. YouTube has to use an algorithm. There's no way they can manually view every video that's uploading. That would be physically impossible. So they have to use algorithms to promote videos. There's no way around that. But I think if I was them, they could definitely kind of manage misinformation a lot more by just looking at the top 200 channels that are creator channels and go, what is being promoted? What is hitting the top in this algorithm? And then manually demoting some of those. So yes, they're doing that with individual videos in political things and things that they think are going to make big real world harm, but they could focus on the things that are going to make smaller harm in terms of miseducating a generation, in terms of looking at what's making it to the top and then downplaying the ones that are promoting misinformation. And I think that that would actually make a difference, because a lot of people look at the top ones and what's getting views and copy that. And that would be my suggestion. Whether they would want to do it, I don't think so. So it might be better off an independent person looking at that and then lobbying the advertisers not to advertise against that sort of content. So that's kind of a summary of how I ended up doing debunking and misinformation and where we currently are. So I think if we've got time, we are doing some Q&A now. Is that correct?
I believe it is. And this is where I get to hand it off to my colleagues, Nia and Jenny, who I don't think I need to give you guys any preface. This is your time to moderate. But thank you so much for an awesome talk, Anne, and I'll be looking out. If folks have questions, throw them into the chat. I'll keep track of that. And Nia and Jenny and Anne, you have a great time.
Great. Thanks, Oscar.
Jenny, hi, Anne. I'm Nia. Jenny has
Hi, Nia.
allowed me to go first because I'm going to do this right now and I'm just going to embarrass myself. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love you. I've been a fan forever. I actually remember you back in the cake days and when the boys
There you
were
go.
young.
You're a long-term watcher, Nia.
I am a long-term watcher. But what I wanted to ask you about was your thoughts on the idea of YouTube having a similar thing that publishing has, which is peer review, or like, or where you have to mark maybe this is opinion or this is editorial versus this is truth. Because a lot of people with that parasocial relationship, I know you and I aren't actually friends, right? So like I accept you as an expert, but not as my buddy. But that relationship gets weird for people sometimes. And would YouTube benefit from something like that, from something like a peer review style or a editorial page style marking?
I think with peer review, you're meaning once the video's been uploaded or before it's been uploaded, like the onus on the creator or on the platform?
The onus on the creator. I would think that you would need to submit, like it's a history video, I'm submitting it to these 5 people who agree to give their time, because in publishing, those people are not paid either, right? I know there's a whole issue with that, and that's a separate thing. But if they were volunteers who said that's not even remotely historical, then it could be marked as fake historical, or fun ahistorical, right? Like Bridgerton style, right? Like kind of a thing, rather than this is actually a historical video that you should believe is the truth.
I think the issue there would be the number of videos. So if you, I think it's every breath you take, there's like, I can't remember the exact number, but it's thousands of videos every time you breathe. So you'd have to pay people to review it, because otherwise that'd be their full-time job. And it would be thousands of people's full-time job, because there are so many videos. You could do what they've done with is it advertiser friendly? Is it made for kids? You could make people tick that in the back end of, is this factually correct? That would get the disinformation if they were honest, but we're talking about people who are lying to people deliberately. So are they honest? Are they going to tick that? I'm not sure. And the misinformation, they believe what they're saying is true. So they're going to tick, yes, it's correct, because they don't know it's incorrect. So the self-moderating on it wouldn't work. The other issue with getting people to peer review it first is the speed. The turnaround speed of uploading to YouTube is very fast. As I said, some people are uploading daily and they are filming, editing daily. So there's no time in that time frame. Some creators I know, they film during the day and then they pay someone on another time zone to edit overnight so the video is ready for the morning. So there's not enough time in there to be able to get someone to review it. And that's also why there's not enough time for people to research and get the information correct. I upload every second week and I get so many people saying, why don't you upload every week anymore? But the research time takes a lot of time. Just to read enough articles about a new topic and make sure you're across it takes a long time.
Thank you.
And also you're a mom, so you have those duties as well, right?
Yes, a mum and a wife and a friend and everything else you have in your
Everything
life.
else.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have a couple questions in the queue here. So one in the Q&A box, Eric Johnson asked, thanks for the wonderful talk. Are there topics you would like to cover that you haven't covered yet? What out there is dangerous that nobody is talking about yet?
Sure. I mean, there are different topics. Every time I get a topic, if I want to do it, I'll put it into my website. That I've got a website where I upload all the different topics and then the different things, because some things take longer to research than others. There are a few that I've put in there is so much research, it's too hard to get my head around it. I'm going to interview an expert on this topic instead of trying to get my head around it. I've got my head roughly around it, but I like to make sure it's correct. So I want to interview experts in that topic. As far as dangerous ones, they tend to come in like people just send them to me and I will look at them and go, yes, that's a dangerous video, or no, it's not. So there's no dangerous ones that I haven't covered. As they come in, I'll cover them pretty quickly. It's more the videos I don't cover are more ones people send in and I go, well, that would actually work, and they've shown what happens. It just looks like a terrible recipe, but it looks like a terrible recipe in their video. So those ones I don't bother doing because I'm not there to just go, this person can't cook. Like, that's just a mean video. That's not misinformation. That's just a bad recipe or a bad thing. As far as dangerous stuff though, no, there's nothing that I haven't covered. Like, as stuff comes in, if it's dangerous, I'll cover it pretty quickly.
Thank you. Well, I'll ask another one and then I'll turn it over to Nia to ask another one. So in the chat, we got a question from B Chambers. Do you think there is a way to use AI to reinforce critical thinking and media literacy? It seems like a powerful tool, just easily abused.
Yes, I think that's the issue is AI is not always right, because AI has hallucinations. So it will say things that are wrong, even though it might actually know the right answer in there. You can see that very easily if you ask it to do maths equations. If you ask it to come up with a difficult equation that equals something, it will tend to give you something, and then if you add that up on your calculator, you go, that doesn't actually add up to that. And then it will go, oh, no, sorry, I was wrong. Here's another equation. And it does that on a lot of things. And if people aren't experts in the area, then they don't necessarily pick up on the mistakes. And I used an example in one of my videos where I asked it to give me examples. I was doing a video on AI. So I asked it to give me examples of where there had been poisonings or deaths in history related to food colouring. And it came up with the date and the people who died and the name of the food colour substance, the chemical name of it, and all this different stuff. And it was a true event. But I then quickly typed in, because I realised it was incorrect, the name that it had given me of the chemical substance and said, is this a food colour? I said, no, it's not. And then I said, so why did you include it as an example of times when people had been ill or died from food colouring? And it said, I'm sorry, I made an error. And it makes errors more than you would think. It's just that you wouldn't pick up on them if you didn't know. And even in the Google search results, we searched for something the other day and the Google AI now comes up for everything, which is quite dangerous because the answers are often wrong. And that misinformation is then going to be republished by others and all of that sort of stuff. So could you use AI to remind people to check for misinformation and to fact check the videos to see if they're correct? possibly in some areas, but I'm not sure in everything. Like AI recipes, particularly at the moment, they're often incorrect and don't come up with something that actually works. So whether AI could test stuff in a video, whether it was correct or not, it's probably a little too hard across every area. You might be able to get it to flag videos for a human checker to check. That might work.
I watched your most recent video on the AI recipe, right? Like, and what I found fascinating about that was when you said it can't test iterations to see what it's gotten wrong, right? Because it reminded me that anybody who's ever written a cookbook has always talked about, I had to make the recipe 47 times in order to get the right, because you're not just doing it with yourself in mind, you're doing it with somebody who's never done it before in mind and has to be exactly correct. And I thought that that was a really good example that I could use in the classroom to talk about. You need to be able to test the hypothesis. And if you're not a living thing, it would be very hard to test your hypothesis.
That's right.
I
And I
did
mean,
want
you could test and then feed in the results to AI, and then it might be useful in that. If you gave it the right data, it can analyze the data, but it needs the data input.
and not just to make it up as it goes. It seems like
No.
a lot of flour and some this, and that'll make a cake. And you're like, no, that doesn't work that way. I would like to ask, if you don't mind, a question about the messenger. So probably some people in this chat have tried to have discussions with students or family members or whomever about misinformation out there in the wild, in the world, right? Things that are happening. And often that person becomes angry with you as the messenger, right? Their ire turns to you. Do you have suggestions for how people can have those discussions with respected or loved ones and not end up in that sort of, I don't want to even hear it because I don't like, the messenger now.
Definitely, definitely. I think that we are all a bit guilty of that. You can get very stuck on a topic. And like I said, if you've heard a lot of misinformation about something, you can become very convinced that that's the way it is. I definitely think rather than telling someone they're wrong, actually showing them some information that might counter what they have seen and asking them what they think of that information is just a kinder way of doing it. None of us like being told you're wrong, and we can get quite defensive. That's just human nature. So the way you address it in a less aggressive manner can be helpful, but some people are still going to be angry with you. I mean, I've learnt that on YouTube. There's no way you can please everyone. Even if you're 100% right, some people are just going to be angry with you and disagree. But that's where, if you can perhaps discuss something that is the same sort of misinformation, but is a neutral topic, and then go, do you think that would ever be possible that could apply to this topic, like in particular with this thing, then you've already got them thinking critically. I'll see if I can find the study that I'm thinking of. There was a Yale study. It's quite an old one, but it's a good one. I'll put this one up if I can share it. They asked people to answer a question. Let me share this one with you. So they gave people these results for an experiment and said there was this many patients, in this many the rash got better, this many the rash got worse, and then the patients who did not use the skin cream, this many got better and this many got worse. Did the study show that more people got better on basically did the cream work? Now, if you're not good at maths, you're going to look at this and go, I don't know, it's got numbers. But if you're good at maths, you'll look at it and go, it's not just the one with more people who got better that it worked in, because the one with more people who got better had more people in the whole study. You've got 223 plus 75. And on the other study, it's a smaller study, it's 107 and 21. So a greater percentage is in the smaller group rather than the bigger group. And people, when they just asked people to fill in this survey, were quite able to, there was people who got it wrong because they just panicked that they were bad at maths. But as general, quite a lot of people could actually think critically and think that through and get the answer correct. When they used those exact same numbers but changed it to a different political thing about gun control, people got it wrong. But even the people who were good at maths and were well educated got the answer wrong because they were looking from a political bias point of view of they already had made up their mind. And so they just went straight for, well, this happened because of that. And that's why this is. They didn't actually look at the numbers and go, well, this study is showing this. I disagree with that, but that's what it's showing. They just lost the ability to think critically, which is an interesting one. But I think that shows that importance of showing debunking or the type of misinformation you're talking about in a non-political way, so someone can look at it critically first and understand what you're trying to say, and then go, right, do you think this could also have been applied to this situation, or do you think this is legitimate, and have a discussion about it.
That's great. Thank you. Jenny?
Yeah, so we have a couple more questions in the Q&A, so I'll read them aloud. And the first one, I so apologize, I'm probably going to pronounce your name wrong, but Jude Albadwardi asks, I'm not sure if you've covered this already, but do you think if enough people speak up directly in YouTube, that could possibly help advertisers speak up as well? Or do you think people should communicate with advertisers directly? Additionally, do YouTubers risk being demoted by the algorithm if they speak up about it? Would this get solved faster if more YouTubers directly speak up to their viewers?
I think it would help educate viewers if YouTubers spoke up about it. I don't think it would make any difference to YouTube itself. As I said, I don't think, as much as they try and make creators think, yeah, you're really important, they don't really care about creators that much. The advertisers are the key. And if you complain about it to YouTube again, why would they tell advertisers about that? They don't, like, that would risk. That's like if you're complaining to this person, they don't want to pass that complaint on to the other area. You need to go directly to the advertisers if you're wanting to lobby them for change. That, I think, would be the most effective way to actually have change happen, because, as I said, they're the ones paying money. The question is, do they care? If they don't care as well, then we're kind of stuck. But they do, in history says they do care if consumers are upset about the videos they're advertising against, because that seems to be when they pull ad spend from a platform or from particular areas. If they could be more nuanced in what they pull, because pulling full ad spend punishes all the good creators and the good players out there as well. So if they could actually realise that they are the power players in this equation and be very particular about what they pull ad spend on, that would be really helpful. So I think actually lobbying the advertisers, but it would need to be done in a way that was, I guess, an educated way. So someone would need to actually do the research as to which channels they need to lobby against, rather than just general misinformation, because what can they do with that? They don't have the time or the money to sit down and actually go through, okay, of the top channels, which ones are accurate, which ones are inaccurate. And yeah. Does that answer the question, Jude?
Oh,
We'll see if they respond. Yes, they say yes.
Great.
And there is an anonymous attendee who asked that something that I think you actually brought up in your most latest video about deepfake AI channels. Have you heard of deepfake AI channels for advertising purposes? I've seen some on my TikTok feed. They look and sound so much like influencers trying to sell a product. If I'm not mistaken, you actually included a clip from where they took someone's face and or they put a different face on someone's body. So do you have anything to say about deepfakes?
Yeah, it sounds like in the comment that you're talking about the reverse of what I showed in the video. So in the video, I showed a influencer who they took it's her product. She promotes fashion. She designs them and makes them. They'd taken her video with her body and swapped it for a generic face and was selling a copycat product on Amazon and somewhere else. But I think it's more common the way that you've seen, which is they take the influencer's face and put that, use a deep fake to make it say something that the person didn't say. And I've seen that a lot as well in advertising, where you've got Elon Musk promoting something and you're just like, yeah, no, that's not him saying that. Or you've got this other person who is a financial presenter who talks a lot about financial topics, trying to tell you to invest in something, and you're like, yeah, that's not them either. I don't know why the platforms are ticking yes and allowing, because all adverts on the platforms get approved before they go through. So they are manually reviewed, and I would have thought that would be something that they should be reviewing. I know there have been some court cases with people taking the platforms to court over that when their face has been approved in adverts. And the platforms can argue, well, how do we know whether it was you or it wasn't? For some of the people who regularly get used or I guess abused in that way, they probably should have some way of sending it to the actual company going, is this what that person said? Is this an advert from you or not? Have they appeared in the ad for this company? And getting them to manually approve it, that would obviously delay approvals and take time, but I think that something needs to be done because it is very common.
Thank you. Nia, do you have any other questions? I have a fun one to end on. So, or if there's other questions, we can wait.
Oh, please. I could keep her here all day, her time, all night, my time, and ask her all kinds of things. She's talking to us from the future, after all. So we
Yes.
should just ask her what tomorrow is like.
Yeah, what's tomorrow like?
But no, let's
Lovely.
do a fun one. Let's end with fun.
So I just wanted to ask, was there ever a hack that you came across that you thought like would not work at all and then it worked?
Yeah, there was a few. I did a video on that, that the ones that I actually just didn't know. I said there were some hacks, like most stuff I can just watch it and go, yep, that won't work, or yep, that will work, just from, I've done a pastry chef qualification, I've done food science at uni. Obviously, most things I can just know by watching it. But there have been some that I've gone, I've never seen that process before, so I don't know whether it would work or not. So I bundled them all into one video. Things like that are common in other countries but not here. So in India, sometimes they fry in salt, and I'd just never seen that before. And
I remember seeing that video of yours. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting because yes, it does work, but you need really high heat. It won't work on an induction stovetop, and it is super salty. So it's an interesting method, but it does actually work.
Thanks.
And I would like to end on a thank you. One of the things is I learn something every time I watch one of these, which is awesome. I had no idea about the wood burning until I saw your video. And then when I went out and watched others, I was like, whoa, this really is really dangerous, right? So thank you for doing that. And also you end each video by saying, be nice. And I like the idea that if people are misinformed, it's often not intentional. It's often not, they're not trying to promote bad ideas. They are invested in it for emotional reasons or social reasons, and being gentle and being kind about that is a much better response than the normal sort of hackles raised response, because I don't think that ever solves anything. So thank you so much for being a person who leads with kindness and optimism.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, barring no more questions, I just wanted to give everyone a giant thank you, most especially Anne, for your time and expertise and joining us literally from the future to talk to us all the way here in Richmond, Virginia. We really appreciate it. I definitely think I speak for all of us librarian folk when we say that your materials are literally like a gift. They just make our job so much easier to have examples we can use in any classroom at any age level, and that is a rare material these days, especially here in the States. And so we're just really grateful for all the amazing work that you do. And I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll join you soon. So thank
Will
you
do.
so much. And thank you everybody
you.
who came.
Great. Thanks, Oscar.